Hello, stand up retail community. It's your favorite digital mentors. And we're here hoping that you're surviving the holiday season. We know it's very stressful. You have a lot going on right now. So we actually know that your time is very precious to you. So our plan this month is to give you some quick, simple, short videos of some great topics this month. So with that said, Carrie, you want to give us a rundown of our last week topic?
Um, Last week, ish got real and we talked about keeping our cool. You guys are in the thick of it right now,
Oh,
and we spent some time just going over some tips and tricks on how you can help control your response when those situations happen. The link will be in the description box below if you haven't checked it out. It's good for all year long, but particularly for right now when
exactly.
everybody is quite intense because
Yeah, thank you for that. So today we're going to discuss a couple of my favorite topics. The importance of these two topics are very crucial to to any company or organization in order to function successfully. And they are what me and Carrie and myself like to call the two E's. And that is engagement and empowerment. Um, they're great topics to discuss, especially during this time of the year. Would you agree, Carrie?
oh yeah. If every company, regardless of your industry, focuses on these things year round, but when push comes to shove and it gets really tough,
Right.
you really see if a team or a location or an office
Right.
setting has these two things in action. So I think it's really worth digging into to
Yeah.
see how we can keep that alive.
That yeah, if there was ever a payoff in anything that you do in retail, this would be the
Mhm.
time of the season where you would actually see the impact of these two things. But
Yeah.
how what I want you to do definitely today is I want you to get a little comfortable with me and trust that I have your best interest at heart. Let's take away the words engagement and empower and let's replace them with comfortable and trust. So it's going to be very interesting in how we
I like it.
test those two because things look a little different. So, the workspaces are different after, especially after COVID. Workspaces are much smaller. People are now
Mhm.
working from home. So, we want to talk about how you need to be comfortable with the fact of the new situation and the way things look, and of course there has to be that trust there, especially when you're working in a space with that has become smaller or less people, and you may not see that person every day,
Yeah, I mean,
or
like with
exactly your path.
extended hours,
Yep,
smaller staff sizes,
exactly.
more responsibility,
Yep.
different
Right.
responsibilities.
Okay.
You may be passing ships in the night, and how do you maintain that comfortability and
Yeah.
that trust, like you said?
Yeah.
So I
And
really like
definitely
it that we're
right.
going to
Yeah.
reframe it that way.
Yeah, and then, when you're looking at trust, you have the people that work remotely, and it's like you have to have trust that,
Mhm.
you physically cannot see work because they're not in the same space.
Mhm.
When engagement is something that when you have an engaged team, you can feel it. Like anyone can come
Oh,
into your
100%.
space, it can be felt. You know that that team is running off of total engagement.
Mhm.
So, yeah, so that was one of the things that when I say you have to be comfortable with engagement, is that definitely as a leader, if you're someone that's has an engaged team and you're engaged with your team, it's very important that you are a great communicator. You need
Mhm.
to be a great communicator.
Yeah, and I think what I love about you reframing engagement around this word about being comfortable,
Right.
um, and some of the things that you just talked about, meaning like communication skills, having both the personal conversations, but
Right.
also the business conversations, and sometimes even the tough conversations,
Right.
is when those are all in play and both parties are comfortable.
Right.
Um, you're talking about a really good, solid work relationship.
Yeah. So
Mhm.
when we get to empowerment, empowerment becomes a thing of trust. And this is a word that me and Carrie like the most, probably, because you have
We
to
had a
be
long
able.
conversation about
Yeah,
empowerment and how
exactly.
a lot of people hear that word and hear two different parts of that word.
Right. Yeah.
So,
And it's like, and I think that trust, for me, that trust runs both ways. A lot of times we think of empowerment is something that someone has to give to you. And a lot of times as a leader, it's hard to
oh yeah.
develop
Yeah.
trust. It's really, really hard. However, on the other side, you as the one that's being empowered, you also have to trust the fact that the person that's giving you the power, they've seen something in you or they trust something about you that they feel that this is something that they can entrust you with. And you have to trust the fact that what they're doing is for the better of you. So that's where I like to look at engagement as, a trust thing. Like you
Yeah.
definitely should look at it that way.
Well, I think Everett and I, we talked about how that word, both of these words, which is why I love, kind of talking about them in different terms, because these words become used so often they lose meaning, or their meaning gets devalued
Right.
in
Exactly.
a certain way. Like, people hear the word engagement and immediately think it's something it's someone else's job to do. Uh, Empowerment, we talked about how people hear that word and they think two different things. There's two different reactions when you've been empowered, and it really comes down to what part of the word you focus on. Right. So we talked about, the beginning part of the word,
Right.
is basically the gifting of.
Exactly.
So when you really break this word down, it is the gifting of having the power to do something. And some people can focus on that gift and the fact they were granted this and trust in
Right.
that it's for their better interest. And some people hear that and hear the word power and immediately take control of the power and not necessarily misuse it, but don't approach the use of it with the right mentality.
The benefits of having an engaged workforce, you get someone that's self-motivated. So who doesn't want a self-motivated person on their team? They understand their role, which we talked about this in another topic before about understanding your role in a structure. They also recognize the significance of their contribution because they're engaged, because they're part of a team. They focus on future training and development, and that's very key when you have someone that wants to go above and beyond because they want to, they're so engaged that they want to progress, and they feel that they belong to a community that is, the organization. Like those things are key. Those are, like, I like to call them the warm and fuzzy things. Yeah. And then when you're looking at trust and you're looking at empowerment, there's a key to how to empower a team today. And, I like to look at them in 4 different ways. One of them is to understand that feedback matters when you're empowering someone. So, let your team know that you hear them and you're invested in it. You love their passion and you understand their passion. And you may have to, as a leader, do some redirecting to get exactly to what it is. It's important that you play a role in that. You know what I mean? Especially if you've given someone this power.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. And
Feedback is two ways.
Yep, exactly. It's 2 ways. The second thing is recognition goes a long way. And I think that me and Carrie have probably mentioned this and probably in every video that we've ever done.
Probably.
Recognition goes a long way. And what do we say about recognition, Carrie? It's not
It
what?
is not just a piece of candy.
No, like recognition in someone that you've empowered, just someone that that you've given you as a leader has given someone this power, and you recognizing that they're doing exactly what it is, or they've gone above and beyond what they did. They may not expect the recognition, but the fact that you're able to notice it, it means that you see them, you know what they're
Yeah.
doing and things like that. So that's number two on the list. The other one is professional growth and necessary support. And this one is key because when you empower someone and that same person that you're empowering is engaged, they start to want to do more. They start to see their path through
Mhm.
their own eyes. And that's important, that when that personal growth or that professional growth starts to click in their heads,
Well, you
it's
gotta
important
grab
that
it.
exactly. It's important that
You gotta
you're
take
there
advantage of that
to
moment. It's so
support it,
wonderful.
to help guide, to be the guidance and things like that, because that also keeps them engaged.
Mhm.
And then the culture and the vision. They see the culture and the vision of what it is that whatever organization that they work in
Is trying to do.
is trying to do, and they become a part of that vision.
Yeah.
And that's probably the most important part, to empowerment. And the thing is, and it goes back to trust, you
Yeah.
know what I mean? And then when you look at it, empower employees, the things that you see out of empowered employees is almost a mirror image of engaged, of a person that's engaged. They're also self-motivated. They have a greater trust in their leadership. How
Mhm.
many times have you worked in a space where you had someone on your team that just didn't quite trust you, or didn't trust that you had their best interest at heart?
Mhm.
And a lot of times I think we as leaders, we might take this personal, but also may be because of a path that they've taken. It could have been history. They have a higher level of improved creativity. They work harder.
Mhm.
They work much harder. They strengthen your bottom line, as we all know, because they're the first line of contact. Normally, when you think from the bottom up, that's what you're affecting. That's
Mhm.
the first line of contact. And then, as always, they feel like they belong to a community or the organization. And that's
Yeah.
really important. And it's the
Yeah.
same as engagement. So that's how those two things work together. And that's why I wanted to look at them in a different way. I wanted to look at them as being comfortable and trusting. Um, what do you think, Carrie?
I think it's really smart. It's really hard in today's workplaces, in
Yeah.
today's, four-wall retail environments, in any sort of organization, regardless of if you're not in the retail industry. These two words are thrown around a lot. And we kind of become numb to them. So when a supervisor comes in and says, hey, we got to work on our engagement, or says, hey, are you engaged? Like, if you're asking somebody if they're engaged, then
Exactly.
something's wrong.
Something is
but
wrong. Yeah.
but I think if we're able to help you guys out there understand that really at the core of what these two words mean are things that are much more accessible, that are much more in your control.
Right.
So if you're not engaged, what you should be asking yourself is, why am I
Why?
uncomfortable?
Exactly.
And the same thing with, if you are not wanting to be empowered, or you don't feel empowered, you need to ask yourself about, does the leadership trust me, and do I trust the leadership? So I think it's just really smart to reframe it into terms and into um, concepts that every employee can really understand. So I really liked it. I thought it was
Great.
very smart, and very, very easy for this time of the year.
Those of you listening out there, remember to, if you like this conversation, remember to like, subscribe, click that notification button, follow us, share. ask, comment, anything
Yeah.
that you would like for us to discuss and talk about, let us know. Reach out and let us know. We're here for you. That's why we're doing this.
Mhm.
Carrie, you want to tell us about next topic?
Well, next topic, we're actually going to dig into something that you touched on in this one, but we're going to try to look at it a little bit differently, and help everyone out there become more of an expert in it.
Mhm.
And it's trust. Because this time of the year, regardless of what your role is, you really need to trust the people who are around you. You need to trust that the strategy is, for the benefit of yourself and for all. So there's a lot of trust that has to happen because you're kind of on autopilot. And next week's going to be fun.
Yeah, looking forward to it. So, as we always say, wherever you are, whatever you may be doing, walk with purpose and everything you do. We see you, we hear you, and we're always here for you. So,
Mhm.
this is Carrie and Edward from Stand Up Retail. See you next time.
Hi, guys.
Bye.